Aloha, friends. Brian Goss here, GM Sports Media. It's another episode of Game Time with the Goss, powered by Grey Wolf Promotions. And my good friend Chuck Licata is on the show today. He's Big Daddy Media CEO and volleyball insider for GM Sports. And guess what? It's the best time of the year. Volleyball playoffs, baby. So, Chuck, welcome back to the show. Volleyball playoffs, and we'll dive into some top games in the first round, as well as some contenders to go to Garland and win it all, as well as some fun pick'ems there at the end. But we'll get onto that later. We can't start off a playoff podcast, Chuck, without Byron Nelson. Ridiculous run, 36-0. They won their last 72 matches. Interesting this season, after winning the 6A D2 title, they got bumped to D1. Chuck, is Byron locked for the 6A D1 championship?
No. When you start the playoffs, nobody is a lock for a championship, period. And we'll talk about this in a little bit. There have been some great undefeated teams who were not a lock when they went into the playoffs as well. Bottom line is anybody, and believe me, Bree will be the first to tell you. Bree Grove, the head coach of Byron Nelson, should be the first to tell you anybody can win on any given day. She is the all-time Texas leader, high school volleyball leader in assists. Played for her mom who won 10 championships. But you know what? Her mom lost championships as well. So anybody can beat. So to answer your question, no, nobody's a lock to do anything in these playoffs, period. The only thing we know are they're going to play in the playoffs. That's it right now.
You've seen Byron Nelson a couple of times. Again, 36-0. What makes them just so good this year?
Incredible talent, incredible coaching. I know Bree will be the first to say has nothing to do with me, but it has a lot to do with her. When you have a setter like Sophie Peterson, without a doubt, one of the top three in the country, if not number one, that's a great way to start your team. They've got selfless players who can do anything. Ashlyn C, Kylie is there as well. It's an amazing team that has more talent than the star players. And those players outside of the big three, if you will, can play for any other team and start for most any other team. That's what makes this team great. And Bree and her coaching staff, they know how to get the most of their really good players. They've got some darn good players to get a lot out of. So, to see them 36-0 at this point, little surprising, but with the talent and with the team they have, they're doing good.
And what's really impressive is they've only dropped 3 sets.
Oh my God. That is unbelievable, isn't it? That is truly stunning. Truly stunning.
Take a team here locally and take a team in the entire state. But who's a couple of teams that could take down Byron Nelson?
Any team in D1, in 6A D1, period. State, local, whatever, doesn't matter. You can look at their own conference or their own district. I'm sorry, for a team that can do it. Yeah. But the thing that everybody seems to be focused on, and no surprise, guess who else is Division I again this year? The defending Division I and defending two-time 6A state champions, Grand Oaks. The Grizzlies, coached by Morgan Rogers, certainly don't have the talent that they've had the last couple of years. I mean, gosh, they had, 8 D1 players the first year they won state. Lost some, but still won it last year when they split D1, D2. But they're in Division I with Byron Nelson this year. And again, and Morgan Rogers, I know her personally. I've seen her team a couple of times. She'll tell you the same thing. Nobody's a lock to do it. We've got to focus one match at a time. But they've got the talent. They've got the overall team talent like Byron Nelson.
Yeah, just looking at the bracket, at least on Byron Nelson's side, you have Allen, who went to the state semis. That's a possible third round matchup. And then, like you said, with their district, Keller's on the other side, who went to the regional finals. So,
keep an eye. And the other thing is, too, not to take away from anybody, But you have a team like Ridge Point, you have a team like Seven Lakes on the other side. They can come in the semifinals and meet Byron Nelson, and those two teams have a different setup as far as the way they play volleyball. That's something we've seen a lot of times, and you've been to state enough times. You can see where a good, solid team, they could have one bad passing night. And I remember Reedy against Liberty Hill a couple years ago in state in the semifinals. Liberty Hill, big time favorite, big time hitters, big time front line, great setter. They had problems on serve, receive, and passing, and they lost to Reedy. Not saying that Reedy didn't deserve it, but that's the kind of thing that can happen at state. So, if Byron Nelson gets the, regional final or whatever you want to call it now, state quarterfinal, state semifinal, they meet up from a good Houston team. That's a situation where they could, one of the Houston teams has something a little bit stronger than what Byron Nelson has, and they can pull the upset.
Well, Chuck, you've covered a lot of games, a lot of teams, thousands of them. If Byron Nelson were to win out here, 6 more wins would put him at 42-0. Can you name a greater season?
It depends on your definition of greater. I mean, anybody that goes undefeated is amazing. Okay. And then if you get to the point of like, okay, we're going to categorize, who had the greater season, whatever, you can't, because each one is individual, each one is special. And I'm not trying to play everybody gets a trophy, but anybody that goes undefeated is amazing. You look at, Lovejoy a couple of years ago, they went 26-0, in the COVID season. Even Ryan Mitchell will say, well, we only kind of played half a schedule. It's still a great season because you win everything in front of you. There's 3 undefeateds that I always talk about. They're my favorites. In 2003, Windthorst, who has the most ever state championship victories as a team. They have 14. Okay. They went 47-0 in 2003. Amazing. Now, of course, you say, well, it's 1A, but you know what? 1A competition, think about it. That had 2A and 3A level competition at the time. So, that there was no 6A at the time. So Windthorst at 47-0 in 2003. Lake Travis may have the most ballyhooed undefeated season. 2011, Lake Travis was 50-0. And they obviously won the state championship. They had a glorious run. That Central Texas volleyball was really good back then, and they still went undefeated. They played the really good tournaments in preseason, and they went 50-0, won it. And what's amazing, as you know, Brian, it's really hard to get undefeated teams at any time. 2 years later, in the highest class, Lake Travis, by the way, won theirs in 4A when there was 5A was the highest class. Lake Travis won in 4A. In 2013, Woodlands won the 5A, which was the top level, with a 45-0 record. And again, played all the good teams. They played the top teams. They played the best teams at the state tournament. So I don't say there's ever the greatest undefeated season. All of them are great, and those are 3 of the highlights that I think. Number one, because of course I really kind of got into volleyball in 87. So there's probably a few I'm not aware of. Even though I've seen, the list, I don't know the volleyball talent at the time. But number 2, it's just all these teams, Windthorst, Lake Travis, Woodlands, they played the best talent there was at the time, and they beat them.
But now they're not. Now they're not in D2. Who's the favorite there in that bracket?
Yeah, it's funny. It's kind of like, oh, wait, we can actually watch D2 now kind of thing. It's like, hey, Byron Nelson is there. There's a good mix of teams down there. You look at Clear Lake. They've been good so far this year in D2. The Austin area is producing Dripping Springs, which they're not as ballyhooed. They're not as promoted, but they still play that tough district with Westlake, Lake Travis, and Austin High. And Austin High is really good. You look at Austin High, they've got 7 D1 players on their team. So they're amazing right there. And they come from the side that has Dripping Springs. So I think there's some good potential there. Um, I think as far as the DFW area, Flower Mound and Plano West, who could meet later on because they're on the same side of the bracket, I think that's going to be amazing. Just the story that I did on Jamie Siegel and Flower Mound, that tells you a lot right there, how good that Flower Mound is. And what a great coach Jamie Siegel is, because 22 match wins in a row. She had gone from late August until last week before she lost a match. If you had asked her how many, I had mentioned the number before. She said, "Hey, if you would ask me how many in a row I won, I'd have no idea. I would know obviously that um, we had a district at to that point, but I really don't. I really don't keep score. I don't count that. So, um, Plano West. I mean, to me, Cooper over there has done a great job with Plano West, and they've got a really good recent tradition. Um, Justin had taken them before Coop got there, and so I think that's a solid program. I think from this area, I think those are teams you look at.
And you can't forget about Salt Lake Carroll, who that's a
Yes.
potential third round matchup with Plano West.
Mm-hmm.
Leslie Jackson's done an awesome job, and they have two of the better hitters in Layla.
Oh, easily. Yep, the monster in the middle, of course, and of course, what I call the Rocket, Layla Austin.
Yeah.
I mean, gosh, you need a radar gun on her kills. I mean, they're from hand to floor in point X number of seconds. She's amazing on that side.
All right, down to 5A. Last year Aledo and McKinney North made it to the state tournament in D1. Again, they're two of the top teams in the state. Aledo's the number one team in 5A. Um, what's your takeaway on those two teams? Can they go back to state? Also in that bracket, you have Highland Park, who appears to be getting healthier and healthier. Just overall, what's your takeaways from 5A D1?
Now Aledo really gets it in the first round because, of course, they played Josh McKinney and Colleyville Heritage. That in itself, you look at potential upsets. To me, that's a potential upset right there. Josh McKinney knows what it's like to get the state. He knows how to have his team prepared. And of course, ironic that Sully Davis was in town. Great job by you on the story as BYU took on TCU. So nice story, folks. Your listeners and your readers need to read that story for sure. But so Aledo, I think if they get past that first round, I'd say they've got certainly a fair shot to get back to state. I look at the bracket that has McKinney North and Highland Park. Highland Park is finally healthy, and Michael has just been so hampered. It's always, one thing or another that just keeps Highland Park away from getting to state. This might be the year. I mean, you look at the talent he has, and of course, you and I have both seen them this year. The talent up front, the talent at center, the talent libero. We did a story on her at Highland Park. This might be the Scotch year, finally. But they've got to get through McKinney North. And boy, anybody that finds a way to beat both Walnut Grove and Lovejoy in district twice in the same year is riding pretty high, and they've got a ton of talent. Now, I'll tell you this, the wild card team that a lot of people up here may not know about is New Braunfels out of the Austin area. New Braunfels is a heck of a volleyball team. They've got a good front line, they've got good defense, and they've got good passing. Butch Hart, of course, the editor-in-chief for TGCA, I keep up with him. Michael Adams of the Austin Sports Journal, we share information as well. And both those guys say that that's your dark horse to win state. Not just get the state, but the win state is New Braunfels, the unicorn. So we're definitely going to have to keep an eye on them.
All right, and then in 5A D2, you had Frisco Wakeland winning state last season. They're not. It appears they're not as strong as last year. They have a new coach.
Right.
They do have some good talent. Just what's your takeaway from D2? Can Wakeland go back to Garland?
Well, I'll tell you what, Wakeland's got to go through Lovejoy, possibly Walnut Grove, possibly Frisco Memorial, we'll throw a good shout out to our girl Jules Hernandez in there. And Memorial's hoping to win a playoff game for the first time in that program's existence. Just praying that happens for Jules before she heads out to Baylor. So, but that side of the bracket, that's tough. I mean, now obviously Walnut Grove, boy, I feel for Justin Waters in that community losing, Danny Whitmire. That's going to be really tough to navigate through there. Lovejoy, I think, comes in with a chip on their shoulder. No question that they, and they're Lovejoy. I mean, this is their time of year without question. I like Argyle a lot. Besides your publication, not a whole lot of love for Argyle. And honestly, I think Coach Caitlin Johnson likes it that way. She doesn't like the pub. She don't want the target on the back kind of thing, But no doubt, she's got a great program ever since she took over. When we first did our first interview with her, when she took over the program, it's definitely her program. And it is very fundamentally sound. They do the passing, they do the serve receive, they do, everything fundamentally right. As far as DFW goes, D2, this is going to be the bracket to watch. There's going to be so much good talent coming out. And the teams that survive, I believe on those two sides of bracket, it's going to be a DFW team. And the teams that are survive are definitely going to be playoff tested once they get to state.
Yeah, I'm right there with you about Walnut Grove. Just prayers for a quick recovery for Daniel Whitmire, who will be going to Penn State early. So all the best for that program. I mean, round one is going to be tough. They play White House, who has 30 wins. And if they're able to get by that, then second round is Frisco Memorial, Frisco Lone Star. So it's going to be kind of a tough road there for Walnut Grove. But if anyone can win those games, it's Justin Waters. So good luck to them. All right, before we get into our picks, just looking around the state in any class, Chuck, is there anybody we should be looking out for?
Yeah, Lauren McPherson just has created a dynasty at Blum. They didn't win state last year for the first time, in a couple of years, and didn't make the state final for the first time in I think 6 years. And she's retiring. Her daughter is getting ready to head off to college, and she's going to retire and has earned that retirement. Unfortunately, she's not going to get the 500 wins. I'm not sure what the total is, but she's going to fall short. And I told her, I said, hey, when Kinsley graduates, you need to come back to coaching and get that 500. Because, we talk about milestones in a coaching career. We talk about class act. And I think you and I, that's one of the things that resonates with you and I so well is players, coaches, communities that are true class acts. Lauren McPherson is a true class act. And I want to see her succeed. Would love to see her, at least get the state. If not playing the championship, that would be so Lauren McPherson type, I know Kinsley, who finally got the team over the edge and won not only the first state championship as a freshman, but won the state championship MVP that year. I'd love to see that happen for Lauren and Kinsley and Blum.
Yeah, some other teams to watch in the area across the state. There's Eagle Mountain in Class 4A. What they've done in that district, with the Decatur's in Springtown, they've won that district, so great job by them. They're in 4A D2. Also in that same bracket is Brock. I could see Brock making a run to the regional final. Boyd, you mentioned Lauren McPherson with retiring with Blum. Well, Cart Oberly at Boyd, it's his last year as well, and he's got Boyd playing very well. They just went to the state championship game last season, but lost.
That's right.
So watch for them in 3AD2. And then what about Aubrey? Aubrey in 4AD2 Region 2, they're 41-2, the chaperone are, and they're in a tough district as well with the likes of Salina and Prosper Richland. And so yeah, 41-2 is impressive. Again, they're a team that has recent success. They've been to state too, so I kind of like their chance as well. Keisha's another one in 3AD1. So a lot of great talent and looking forward to it when the playoffs start. Now we're going to do something fun. We're going to do some picks. If you're familiar with college game day football, It's going to be similar to that, but got 5 games here, Chuck, and then also want you to pick an upset pick, and we'll try to do this all throughout the playoffs, and we'll see if I can take down the
The
master
reigning champ.
reigning champ.
Come on, go ahead, say it. Come on, come on, let me hear it. Come on, say it.
Reigning champ, 2024
Thank you.
reigning champ, undisputed.
Yep.
All right, so yeah, 5 games here. I think these are the 5 top games in the area. I know there's probably a lot more, but I'll stick to 5. You kind of mentioned it earlier when talking about Aledo and Colleyville Heritage. Again, this is not quite the same Colleyville Heritage team without Sully Davis, but it is Josh McKinney. He knows how to win games. So yeah, Aledo and Colleyville Heritage. Who do you like?
I'm going to go with Aledo, and I'm going to say this is going to go 5. As you know, because you've been doing this for a while too, you get those coaches like Josh McKinney that are just so good, and they can make the playoffs, their team a lot better in the playoffs. I mean, they've taken them through non-district, then you get through district. And that's a guy who I respect and admire. And don't forget, he was the tutor and mentor for Bree Growth. She will tell you she'll be the first to tell you that he taught her basically everything she knew. So obviously a lot of talent there. But I'm gonna go with Aledo. I think they're gonna squeak it out in 5.
Yeah, I like Aledo too. I saw them the first game of the year against Keller at Keller, and they took down Keller in 4 sets. Kind of expected a little bit of a step down. They graduated some really good players, but Claire Gay, who, by the way, congratulations on her 600 victory. Uh,
Yes.
she's done a fantastic job with that team. Aledo is, I have it right here. They're the number 1 team in 5A, and they're 36-2.
Yep, that's right. That's
Awesome
right.
job, but yeah,
Own some really good wins. And of course, that's another story that's available on GM Sports Media. I did that one with Claire not too long ago. So
yeah. So I'm with you. I'll go with Aledo. Next up, we have Hebron and Plano East. And if you're familiar with 5-6A and 6-6A in the first
yeah.
round, usually it doesn't matter what sport, you're always going to seem to have one team that can contend, and they're done, one and done. But yeah, Hebron and Plano East. Who do you like?
I'll go with Plano East. I think Coach over there has a really good chemistry coming down the stretch. They play in certainly Hebron plays in a tough district, but I think Plano East the district is even tougher. I think they're ready to take it to the next level, and so I'm going to go with Hebron, Plano East over Hebron.
Yeah, Coach Perez over Plano East doing a great job. Got to look out for Simone Hurd, Georgia Tech bound for Plano East. She's like top 10, maybe top 5 in kills here in the area. I will say Hebron might have a little more momentum there after taking down Flower Mound in straight sets to clinch a co-title. Cameron Mulliken, their setter, was just voted our player of the week. So,
Right.
and of course, they have a good hitter as well, and Taylor Johnson, who was phenomenal as a freshman. This one is probably the toughest one for me. But I'll go with what you said. 6-6A, I think, is slightly better than 5-6A. You really, with 5-6A, you're talking about Flower Mound and Hebron, and then sort of
Right.
kind of a drop off after that. You look at 6-6A with Plano West and Allen, even Plano High this year, and especially Prosper. You can't count out Prosper, but very tough district there. So I'll go Plano East, but I think it's going to go 5.
Okay.
The next one in 6A, we have Richardson and Arlington Martin. Who do you like in that one?
I'm going to go with one of the guys who truly is one of the greatest fundamental coaches and gives his heart and soul and passion to the sport of volleyball. Eric Miracle. I think that, this is one of those years where the good guy really, wins it. Not saying they can't win it anyway, but I like Eric. We did the Pierce match at home. We broadcast that for Eric. They like to do that rival. That's a huge rivalry. That gym is packed. You can barely hear yourself talk in that kind of rivalry. he's really one of the good guys. He's the guy that cares a lot about his players, about their, academic achievements. He's the guy that says they're student athletes and not players. I love Eric Miracle. I'm picking Eric's team, the Richardson Eagles.
Yeah, Richardson and Martin, they're fairly familiar with each other in the
Right.
playoffs. Honestly, if this any other year, the last 5 years, I might lean with Martin, but Martin is still good. Co-district title in 8-6A, but definitely not as tough as years past. And then they came off with a 3-0 loss in the regular season finale, so they're hurting a little bit. But yeah, with Richardson, they're playing really well. He's got some young talent that have been outstanding. Mackenzie Ratcliffe is their
Yep.
top hitter. She's committed to Old Dominion. Again, another kid who's I think top 10 in kills here in the area. So yeah, I mean, I'm with you. Coach Miracle is one of the great guys. Not just great coaches, but great guys. And so I'm going to lead with Richardson. I'm going to go with 4 sets for Richardson. All right, another 6A1 in Region 2. You have Wiley, who's coming off a 16-0 district championship, and they're taking on Rockwall Heath, who out of 10-6A nearly got that co-title in district. Came up second, but yeah, with Wiley and Rockwall Heath, what you got?
I'm gonna go straight up. I think Wiley is a heavy favorite, and I'm gonna stick with the heavy favorite again. Another district championship for Wiley.
Yeah, I like Wiley too. They've been playing really well, obviously, and they got some really good talent. Coach Butts, she has over, I think, 750 wins in her career. Um, but it's not too often that they've gone undefeated in district, so great accomplishment for her and that team. And yeah, I think 10-6A is slightly better than 9-6A, but I think Wiley has enough talent to go out there and get a playoff trophy. So I'm with you with Wiley. And then upset pick, this can be just really strictly a lower seeded team, a number 2 seed over number 1. I know there's a lot out there that really aren't upsets, but just for us, we'll go with the lower seeds. Just who was your upset pick of by district and why?
Well, and I wanted to stick with a DFW team, obviously, because this is who we cater to. Waxahachie, the Indians, are the lower seed against Midway, who won their district. Midway has had up and down as far as playoff talent. They've been to the state level one time that I'm aware of. And I just think that Waxahachie playing in that Duncanville district, they've got a lot of talent. Obviously, the new coach there has done a good job in building the program. And of course, this is obviously a situation where it's, let me see, is this D1? Yeah, 6A D1. And it's in the second bracket. So I'm going to pick Waxahachie again, sticking with the DFW team. I'm going to pick Waxahachie, who's the underdog to Midway. And I talked to Butch about this, and he said, yeah, he said, if you look at it on paper, you would pick Midway over Waxahachie. So I'm going to go with the Indians in an upset.
When we were talking before the show, we mentioned one of these teams, and I actually had 2 others in mind, but they're truly not upset picks. They're rather, I think, pretty easy wins. So I will not go with that. I'll go another one, and I think you agreed on it. But Frisco Reedy over Frisco Centennial. Reedy is that second seed out of District 12 5A, and Centennial is the first seed in 11 5A. I mean, it's a great matchup. I mean,
Yes, it is.
Centennial, you have their talented setter and Manny Victorino.
Oh, love Maddie.
And so it's kind of a shame here that someone's gonna go home after the first round. But Reedy's in that tougher district with Highland Park and Wakeland, Lone Star as well. They have recent success going deep in playoffs. They went to state.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Yep.
my upset pick is Reedy over Centennial. All right, and now the game of the week, Mansfield and Keller. That's our final pick. On paper, Mansfield versus Keller is the best game in the area. It's the only 6A game locally to feature two teams with 30-plus wins, and their 73 wins combined are most for any bi-district matchup in the Metroplex. But when the Tigers and Indians meet on the court, don't be shocked if one team is strongly favored over the other. And no, it's not the team with the better record. Yeah, we owe Julie Price and Mansfield their flowers. After missing the big dance last season, primarily due to injury, the Tigers are 43-1, capped with an undefeated 3-6-8 championship. They have the second best record in the area, only behind undefeated Byron Nelson. And their only loss came in mid-August to 5A number one Aledo at the Granbury. But they did beat Aledo the next day in the tourney final. But Keller has the much tougher schedule, which includes playing Byron Nelson twice in one of the best districts in Texas, 4-6A. The Indians are just one of three teams all year to take a set off the Bobcats. And they have really good playoff success recently with back-to-back appearances at state and the regional final in 2024. So Chuck, Mansfield versus Keller, who you got and why?
I'm going to let you go first on this one, pal. I've gone first on everything else. This is your moment to shine.
Yeah, you know what? I was trying to find a way to really pick Mansfield. I really did. The phenomenal job from Coach Price. Again, just a year ago, missing the playoffs, and now 43 wins out of 44 matches. We're familiar with Coach Price. She has a lot of playoff success, won back-to-back with Coppell in the early 2010s. Had success there with Lake Travis with a state title. But man, this bracket, like you mentioned earlier, is just a gauntlet. 6A D1, and it's a real shame to have two teams like this who, couldn't make the regional final, and they'll be one and done. But I think the stronger schedule for Keller will push them over the top. Mansfield's a young team, and so some of those girls don't have that playoff experience just yet. They're led by MC Crutcher, who, thank goodness, we have 3 more years with her. She's 6'1" outside and like one of the top 29s in the country. So she's going to be really good for a long time. But I think the experience for Keller, Anna Flores, who we like a lot, we can make a case that Anna's the second best setter in the area behind Sophie Peterson. But triple double threat, she leads the area in triple doubles. I think she's up to 8 or 9, which is really that part of her game has really taken off. I don't even remember if she had a triple double last year, but yeah, I think that experience will push Keller. I got the Indians over Mansfield.
Well, we talked about Danielle Spivey now, and of course, had the kid recently. Congrats to her and her family, and of course, Jan to have another grandchild with Bree putting out 2 more eventually on the way. So it's going to be a great Christmas around the Barker clan. But I think Danielle is one of the most underrated coaches in all of high school volleyball, and that includes the country. She got him there in 2021. Everybody, and I admit, I'm one of the first guys to say, Keller, how is Keller here, kind of thing, and then found out obviously that Danny was the coach, and she's just got an incredible, consistent program. And believe me, there is nobody that hates to lose to her sister more than she does to Bree. But she's taken those experiences. Danielle's the kind of coach, she takes those experiences, relates it to the kids. And you talked about it. We talk about it ad nauseum, how tough that district is, but how good it is for them in the playoffs. We haven't talked about the other playoff team out of that district, Northwest, who could go on a run because they play such great competition, and Jennifer Chandler has such great talent at Northwest and built that program into a consistent winning program. So I just think Anna Flores, I agree with you, could be the second best setter in all the DFW area. And that's saying a lot. There's a ton of setter talent in this area. No question. I'll take our setters and our liberos, in DFW, put them up against anybody in the state, any area. In fact, I'll put them up against the entire rest of the state, and we come out on top, no question. So, but as far as this match goes, Again, you mentioned I was going to mention, so you beat me to it. Julie Green coached that 50-0 Lake Travis team to the state championship back in the day. But yeah, it's going to go 5. I have no doubt. I'd be stunned if anybody swept this and then somebody took it in 4. This is going to go 5. It's going to be a great match, and I'm going to go with you. Of course, I had my pick already. We'd already kind of exchanged. There was no doubt I was going to pick Danielle and Keller anyway. So, but what a great matchup. As you said, it's really a shame for both teams. This is a first round match, and keep this away from the people at UIL. There's not one coach not one volleyball coach I talked to last year that liked Division I, Division II. None of them.
Yeah, this is definitely the effect of that D1 D2 split.
Yeah.
This is not a first round matchup, but
No,
we are.
no.
So, I got to give out a couple of shout outs first. Got to give a shout out to Jill, Coach Jill over there at Brewer Bears. I'm going to have her on the show this week.
Oh, nice.
First playoff appearance in 26 years.
Wow.
A great job by Brewer. Got to give a shout out to Prosper Richland, who I just mentioned. Amber Hughes, who's another coach that I'm going to have on this week. She took Mansfield Lake Ridge to the district championship last year. Prosper Richland just opened up this school year, and so she's got them in the playoffs. So congratulations to for Richland there. And then Arlington High, Kim Spencer, really good friend. She closed out the regular season 3-0 sweep over Arlington Martin. That's their first win against Martin since 2015. Co-district champs, first title for Arlington since 2013. So big shout out to those 3 schools.
And real quick, shout out across the state a little bit to Amarillo. Of course, Danielle Spivey of Keller and Bree Groth of Byron Nelson both played there under their mom, the legendary Jan Barker. They are finally settled in on a coach. They've been 4 years with different coaches, and that's a program that went to state with Jan in her last year. And then, they've kind of ripped through. Haley Burns, who was the coach that got Randall to state 2 years in a row, won it once, almost won it the second time, but then got reverse swept that second year. She's done a great job over at Amarillo. She's got the girls buying in. They're a year ahead of where she thought they would be. And they're in the 5AD1 bracket on the Aledo side. So that could be a really good matchup, but very proud of Haley and everything she's accomplished at Amarillo as well.
Do it for another episode of Game Time with the Goss. Chuck Licata, CEO of Big Daddy Media and GM Sports Volleyball Insider. As always, great stuff. Good talking to you with you, Chuck.
Hey, it's always fun to talk volleyball. Always great to talk volleyball with you because of your great knowledge, especially of this area. And it's been a thrill and a pleasure to work with you side by side this year with GM Sports Media. What a fun time it's been. I hope your readers and your listeners have enjoyed the volleyball information and product that we put out this year.
Yeah, I appreciate all your hard work, and we appreciate everyone tuning in. So with that, hey, it's playoff time in Texas. So Thursday,
let's go,
and Friday, go out to some good games and tune back in for Chuck and I as we dive into more volleyball playoffs as we keep rolling here. So, hey, I'm Brian Gossett with GM Sports Media. This another show powered by Gray Wolf Promotions. And till next time, aloha.